It looks like the chat has chosen a. Oh, Sam is in the queue. This is a guy that said he would donate $350. Hey, Sam.
Hey, Dean, how's it going? I'm gonna donate to you first before we get this started,
Are you
so no one
seriously?
thinks I'm
Are
lying.
you seriously gonna do that?
I'm seriously gonna do that. I do support the Congo. I did vote for Trump in 2016, and I do want to debate you on something, but I'm gonna do that first. Is Venmo the right way to do that?
Send it over PayPal because right now I can't withdraw money from my Venmo. Send it on PayPal.
All right.
By the way,
Can
that
I exit? Can I exit TikTok? I'm sorry. Also,
yeah.
to be very, I am not MAGA. I did vote for Trump, but I only put my profile picture on that. I didn't realize that if I was private, I couldn't debate you.
What do you want to debate about?
I want to debate you on mass amnesty,
Oh,
and I
dude,
listen to you every
let's do it.
day.
Oh, you know what?
Right,
You
I'm
know
going to do
what?
it in
Very
a respectful
special.
way. But let
Very
me hang on. Let
very
me get
special
this.
debate here. We'll do it. Okay.
Let me hang on. Let me donate to you first. Hang on. If I exit TikTok, will I stay on the feed with you?
Yeah, you will. Do you know my PayPal?
I do.
Okay. It is just to clarify, DEANWITHRS.
Okay, let me make sure. Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah. By the way, for those curious, this is a 300. Apparently. I mean, we'll see. But it's apparently a $360 donation going towards the Congo, which is half of what the donation goal would have been, or was supposed to be when we ultimately host your fundraiser here soon, to raise money to pay for water, clean water for 50,000 people for a month. I mean, let's see if it goes through. Also, Sam, please, I know that you could hear me. I can't hear you right now. I could only hear you when you're in the. She just did it.
All right, no, I did it. I told you I
Damn.
wasn't full of shit.
No, you weren't full of shit.
No, I listen to you every day. And honestly, okay, so in 2016, I voted the way I voted. I was 18 at the time. I'm 27 now. It was kind of this is going to sound shitty. I didn't know what he was going to do, but it was kind of a pocketbook vote, right? So I was told economy would be better. And since then, I've obviously done a lot of reflecting, and I watch your content every day for a few months. That being said, you lose me on the idea when it comes to mass amnesty.
Okay. All right. You know, I hear this from a lot of like moderate left-leaning people or like more like institutional liberals. I hear that a lot. I want to have this discussion with you. I actually think this will be a good talk. This is probably like the most productive thing to happen to my stream in a while. And then I also just thought I'd tell you, yeah, I did get the $360. That is going like straight to the fundraiser.
Okay, good.
And
No, it's
you'll likely hear more about
good.
that in my live in a while. And then for everybody else, what I will say, I don't want anybody else to donate me money like that. I'm just doing this for like Sam right now because I mean they said they would, and that's a large chunk of change to be going towards a fundraiser. I like healthy practices of fundraising. When we do the public fundraiser, I want you guys to be able to have like all the information about who exactly the money is going to, who exactly it will benefit, like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, like all of the specifics. I just feel like that is necessary for a fundraiser, not the whole you see a guy on your For You page asking for money to go to a cause type deal. So I'm not going to take any more donations until we have a more like solidified foundation with, you know, like a website, a foundation, who it's going to, what will be done, et cetera. But you know, she did donate $360. That will be kept for that 110%. In fact, I already messaged Athena about it. That's really, really kind of you. Seriously, very kind. But go ahead and tell me why I lose you on mass amnesty.
All right. So we saw mass amnesty play out in it was either 85 or 86. And I think the U.S. granted mass amnesty to around 3 million people under Reagan.
Okay.
And when we saw that, I think it's a sweeping fix that's gonna to a deeply layered issue. You know what I mean? And I think after we provided mass amnesty to, I think it was 2.5 to 3 million people. I'm pretty sure illegal immigration surged after, and I think it was 2000. The undocumented population had more than doubled.
Okay.
And I know Spain did it in the early 2000s, and I think it was under 1 million people, but within a few years, the illegal immigration came like rebounded.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a hard time. I share a lot of views with you. I actually don't disagree with you really about anything except this. And I know you said that you're very left when it comes to this.
Yeah.
But I I have a hard time with this idea for also for other reasons in addition to like straining public resources and stuff like that. So
Okay, all right. So, I mean, let's look at the example that you gave under Reagan, and if this is equivocal or the same as something that I would want for America today. So, first and foremost, I don't think that amnesty on its own is the solution. I think it is a necessary part of a larger solution, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that. But before I do, you basically said once we did the amnesty in the 90s, undocumented entry surged, and it didn't show any inclination to reduce undocumented entry in the long term. If we were to just do mass amnesty and not fix any issues with our legal processes of entry, I would expect undocumented entry to surge. Think about it. Border, okay? There's a border between you and a higher quality of life. If you do it the legal way, you have to, let's do the pros and cons. Wait 25 years. Okay, that's a con, but the pros, you become a citizen. What about the illegal way or the undocumented way? Well, a con is that you do it illegally and you're under the threat of being deported, but maybe a pro is a higher quality of life and you don't have to wait 25 years. Well, after Reagan did the mass amnesty, they restructured that incentive structure in a way where it was no longer a con of undocumented entry. Seemingly, at least the con was less likely to apply to you of being under the threat of being deported because the president was offering the undocumented immigrant citizenship or residency, right? So it makes sense that just gave even more incentive for undocumented entry by mitigating the cons that would exist via undocumented entry and made it significantly more desirable than legal entry. Right? And I disagree with that incentive structure. So this means that if we were to implement mass amnesty, we couldn't just implement mass amnesty and then leave the borders taking 20 through 25 years for illegal entry. Mass amnesty would be a part of a larger solution, and that would also include making the legal means of entry into this country significantly faster, and offering that same solution to everybody that is attempting to come in legally. And then ultimately, once we get to a point where legal citizenship is attainable for anybody who should feasibly have it, we then crack down on the undocumented entry that would remain, because at that point, I would expect the undocumented entry that would remain to be people with things like prior violent offenses or warrants from other countries for heinous crimes. And I feel like if we do those two things at once, I think that we would see a lot of success because we would reap the benefits that we saw in the 90s, like higher wages on average, a boom in economic growth, but we wouldn't reap those detriments of a surge in undocumented entry because we'd be fixing the incentive structure for legal entry while cracking down on the bad undocumented entry that would remain.
Sure. No, and I agree with making the process to come into the country easier. But I don't see how vetting millions of people at once is realistic. And as much as I agree with you, I would say the far majority of, I don't want to say immigrants who come in the country illegally. I don't want to say that the majority of them are bad. I don't think they are. I think they're good. I think the majority of them just want a better life for themselves and their families. But don't you think that vetting millions of people at once allows for dangerous individuals to slip through? I think that's like the major concern for most people who are against mass amnesty.
Okay, I mean, I'd actually say that mass amnesty is more realistic than mass deportation. Think about it. Millions of people, we need to do something with them. If the thing that we want to do to them is going to hurt them, like deportation would, they'd be less willing to cooperate. If it's going to help them, like mass amnesty, they'd be more willing to cooperate. So if anything, there'd be more evil, bad terrorists in our country for a longer period of time because mass deportation would just take significantly longer. And then second of all, about ensuring that through the vetting process of mass amnesty, right, we're not letting evil people slip through the cracks. Well, I mean, man, I think that it should take maybe like 6 months, 8 months max to be vetted for something like amnesty. And I think that is more than enough time to realistically vet these individuals and see if they have any of these prior violent offenses, considering the fact that it takes 3 months to get top security clearance through the American government. You know what I mean? And maybe like you'd point out like an issue of practicality saying that, oh, I don't know, we don't have enough funding directed towards the proper resources to offer these solutions of mass amnesty. I think we should give them more funding. I think we should give it a shit ton of funding. I wouldn't mind if we funded that billions and billions and billions of billions and billions of dollars per year. Why? Well, the alternative will cost us trillions of dollars per year, and we'll get an ROI off of that investment into this wide-scale program because of the economic benefits that we had reaped from the labor of these new citizens that are now garnering higher wages and are now more incentivized to pay taxes.
Okay, I hear you on that. And what about the strain on public resources? Because if their legal status changes and they're here legally, doesn't that increase their access to public services like SNAPs and EBT, which are already, strained?
It does. So it does. It does. It would increase the access to these things. But this is going to be true when citizens just have children that are born in this country. And it's also going to be true through legal immigration. But I would say that mass amnesty actually puts less strain on these social safety nets compared to children just having kids through birthright citizenship, because there's more undocumented immigrants that are of working age compared to citizens, proportionately speaking, meaning that they're more likely to work. They have a higher participation rate in the labor force. So obviously, when you have a demographic that's at a higher participation rate in the labor force, these individuals under like optimal conditions are going to put less of a strain on these social safety nets, meaning that if anything, your idea there would be more in alignment with the goal of limiting the amount of kids citizens can have compared to the goal of limiting mass amnesty.
Okay. But so in like low wage sectors where increased labor supply can depress wages, won't working class Americans be most directly impacted by that if all these, if millions of people are legalized at once?
So I actually think that we'll see an increase in real median wages through mass amnesty. I think that undocumented immigrants actually can suppress wages because they don't have a legal status. They have less bargaining power. I don't put that blame on them. I put that blame on their employer for exploiting the fact that they have less legal status. They have less bargaining power, and their employer would basically just be less likely to exploit them because of that, because it would no longer be true that they don't have a legal status and they have less bargaining power, and they'd be able to get higher wages, increasing real median wages on average. The way I like to think about it is mass amnesty would basically have the same impact on wages that unions do. Unions serve the purpose of increasing the bargaining power of a particular demographic in any industry. And what impact does that have on average wages? It causes the average wages to go up. All right. Same way mass amnesty would give undocumented immigrants more bargaining power. Hopefully we'd see real median wages go up.
Okay. And my last argument would be, and I know this is going to sound hypocritical because, Trump is a, convicted criminal, but I've heard the argument, and I'm really just trying to have you change my mind or give me things that I can say back to people that I'm around about mass amnesty. But I've heard that it sends kind of a dangerous principle that violating the law will eventually be forgiven. Like, why would anyone respect our immigration system if the consequences of breaking it are, eventually rewarded?
Right. I mean, I feel like we've seen this same hypothesis tested many times throughout history. This was the same reaction that people had when we banned racial segregation. This was the same reaction that some people had when we banned slavery. This is the same reaction that some people had when we lifted the ban on gay marriage. This is the same reaction that some people had when we imposed Roe v. Wade. I actually think that it doesn't set forth this dangerous precedent because the law of mass deportation, I think, only serves to make this country and everybody in it worse off. And setting forth a precedent that our country is willing to take responsibility and amend our legislative standards when our legislation simply only serves the purpose of generating harm in this country is a great standard that should be set. Now, does that address your concerns? Do you understand what I'm saying there? Do I need to reword it?
No, and I understand what you're saying, and I know you've mentioned that the GDP goes up because of the contributions of the immigrants that are here legally. But GDP can go up, and individual Americans can still be worse off because if wages are pushed down and low skill sectors or public services are strained, like we'll feel it. Working class Americans will feel it even if the GDP is...
Absolutely. Absolutely. If GDP goes up but real wages go down, people feel that. It sucks, right? Because GDP is nominal. It doesn't account for per capita. And we need to be looking at per capita stats here. Well, the argument I gave you earlier about how mass amnesty would give undocumented immigrants more bargaining power against their employers would hopefully cause their wages to go up. I mean, that's the effect that unions have. I'd expect it to be the same effect of mass amnesty. So it increases per capita real median wages. And then just generally, we haven't seen a super strong correlation between mass immigration and a reduction in real median wages. The increase in real median wages under Trump's first term was 2.8%. then the increase in real median wages under the Biden-Harris administration was like 5.6%. And of course, we had significantly more immigrants coming into America and going to work under the Biden-Harris administration.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for the good conversation. I love.
I sent you a message. Take magnesium for your heart palpitations because that's what I do and it helps me.
I'll have to do that. I'll have to do that. I appreciate you for the good conversation, and I appreciate you for the pushback on mass amnesty. I think that conversations like this are incredibly valuable because it is literally my goal to get the Democratic Party to represent policy of mass amnesty. It is my goal to get the average American to believe in policy of mass amnesty. I think it is really good policy that helps this country. I think that, you know, some of the things that you said there to critique it are very fair critiques, you know, asking about what will its impact be on real wages, what will its impact be on, you know, social safety nets, et cetera. Those are great questions, and I really appreciate you for asking them.
All right, cool. Well, you have a good rest of your day.
You as well, Sam, and seriously, you're a great person for
I'm
your
changing my
donation to the
profile
Congo.
picture.
Yeah, have fun doing it. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Everybody, that was a great conversation. Probably one of my favorite conversations on the live for a very, very long time. Yeah, no, W guess, you guys. It was super W guess. I mean, came up here, donated $360 to, you know, clean water for people in the Congo, and then disagreed with me on my immigration policy. She said that she didn't support mass amnesty, but then had like a super good conversation with me, offered fair critiques, and like listen to what I had to say. Super W guess. That is like probably the best example of a debate that I have ever had on my live stream. That is how these things are supposed to go. I really appreciate that last guest for her time. That's awesome.